My belief in CJ Stroud gets me roasted. The man himself speaks, and there is someone getting toasted. Let's go inside the locker room here on YouTube.
You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too.
CJ Stroud, he's in MVP talk. 9-1 right now are the odds for CJ Stroud to be the MVP. My belief in CJ Stroud, it is getting me roasted in my 15-year fantasy draft. I selected him number 3 overall, and apparently that was funny to a lot of people because my entire fantasy draft, by the way, touchdowns are worth 6 in my fantasy draft. I also believe that it's more fun to kind of watch the quarterback if you're covering the team or if you watch every play, especially even in the worst case scenario. I think the worst case scenario for the Texans might actually make CJ Stroud a better fantasy quarterback, as weird as that is. But I decided I was going to take CJ Stroud, and the members of my fantasy league decided they were going to completely roast me. Here's what they had to say about it.
I think you probably would have got them on the way back. I think that's a fact.
Okay. Thoughts on me taking CJ in the third round? Homer, okay. Thoughts on me taking CJ?
He's a man of
a little early.
A little early, okay. You?
Wouldn't mind it.
Thoughts on me taking CJ?
It's going to make great YouTube content. He's going to have a great season. You could have had him in the 4th or 5th.
Cover blown.
QB8.
QB8. Wow. Thoughts on me taking CJ?
Makes my pick easier.
Thoughts on me taking CJ?
I saw your first 2 picks. I knew something shitty was coming up, so.
Okay. Legend. Thoughts on me taking CJ?
I don't hate it.
Okay. There we go. Haters gonna effing hate.
All right, so there you go. So when are you taking CJ Stroud in your fantasy draft? 6-point touchdowns. A quarterback can carry you. Josh Allen went the pick after. I don't think it was a terrible pick. Where are you taking CJ in your fantasy draft? Are you taking any Texans in fantasy? There's a lot of interesting discussion when it comes to that. Let me know in the comments. Swarm the like button. Let me know what you think. One of my favorite things about CJ Stroud, and I was a Bryce or bust guy, but obviously that changed very quickly. As you started digging in and seeing what CJ Stroud could do, not just on the field, but off the field, it was hard not to become a fan. I go back, I always mention this, the game against Georgia, not what he did on the field, but what he did at the podium when he spoke for Ryan Day or stood up for Ryan Day. Normally that's the opposite. The Indianapolis game last year, we'll probably get into that as he praises Matthew Stafford. But you saw CJ Stroud gut it out and then praise his offensive line despite getting roughed up. So when CJ Stroud speaks, it's worth listening. And he spoke the other day, and here's what CJ Stroud had to say as camp concluded, the joint practice with the Rams. He starts with speaking on his connection with Stefon Diggs and how that's progressed or how that progressed throughout camp. Here's CJ.
It's improved drastically. I think, me and him kind of already had a natural connection on the field. And, we just built it. So I think you've seen it on the field of just, just reps after rep after rep, just me and him have a conversation, talking about things we like, we don't like, and just being transparent. But, it's going to continue to grow and, it's going to be a special connection.
I think that the Stefon Diggs connection, I think it's actually probably the best connection that we saw. And he has a lot of them. But maybe it was because he was investing the most time in it this camp. But if you asked me who the best wide receiver was in camp, I do think it was Stefon Diggs. Now, I don't know that he was the best player, and we'll get to that in a sec as CJ speaks. Here's CJ first speaking on how long.
After one of the plays, Sean McVay kind of was walking with you and talking to you. Could you share with us what he told you and how valuable is that or nice to have the opposing coach kind of helping you out like that?
Yeah, I'm super, I'm a super fan of his, the type of scheme he runs, the way he calls it, the way he uses guys in motion and just a whole bunch of different things. And he just seems like a good guy. And, he just had some tips and pointers, also showed me a lot of love, which I appreciate. But, I appreciate him more than he knows, just watching film, not even knowing him, just like getting better from the stuff that he does in that offense along with Matt and those guys. So, it's definitely just an honor just to know that he knows me, which is a dope.
How much does it help? How much does it help having a practice like today? What do you take away from joint practice?
Yeah, it's kind of breaks camp up, like it's been a long long camp. It's been a great camp, though. A lot of good on good. Like, I think we have one of the best defenses in the league, and they keep us honest. Also, we have our days. It's always back and forth, so like that's what you want. You don't want it to be one-sided. And today kind of was good to see a new structure, a new type of defense. I thought we handled it well. It's ups and downs. We got to get better in a lot of different areas, but ultimately, I think today we got what we needed and what we wanted.
You heard him say right there, one of the best defenses in the league. I think the best player in camp was Danielle Hunter. I think Danielle Hunter stuck out, especially in that joint practice. He was awesome. So was Kamari Lassiter, but Danielle Hunter, as far as start to finish, he's been incredible. We saw him in the preseason as well, doing his thing. I do think this defense is going to be better than we anticipated. And I also think we're going to start to see kind of the identity of D'Amico Ryans implemented, not just culturally, which might be the most important thing, but his defense last year, they played hard, but I think now that the talent has increased, I think we're really, really going to see the impact of D'Amico Ryans and his strength kind of playing into what this team is. And I would not be shocked if we're talking about a top 10 defense. I think this is going to be a defense that is going to surprise a lot of people. So when CJ says that, I know online, I know in the comments, there were a lot of eyebrows raised and there was a lot of, wait, what? But I really, really do think that's a possibility, especially if Will Anderson's healthy and especially if Christian Harris is able to get back on the field. Here's more from CJ Stroud.
About Matt Stafford, I really talked about the first time we really noticed it being loaded and expect most of it.
The first thing that jumps off from him is just his toughness. Like, man, he's tough as nails. Like, I remember watching the mic'd up with him. He broke his shoulder or something weird like that. And he finished the drive, and his shoulder was down there falling out of place. And I just respect that, because it's not easy. And just how he manipulates guys with his eyes, his drops, his arm angles. Man, I've been a fan of Matt Stafford for a long time, and I wasn't trying to be like a fanboy today, but I asked him a lot of questions. Just try to just learn, and he was really honest with me and wasn't like mean, which I appreciate. So definitely a huge fan of his, one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time, and to share a field with him was dope.
And I think the good thing, the thing about Matthew Stafford where you really gain respect is that the large portion of the time in Detroit, it was a bad football team, and you could have easily gotten defeated. But there were times where the Lions were out of the playoff race, and he's out there limping around. He's got a hurt shoulder, and he's still out there doing his thing. He's still out there leading. He still wants to be on the field. When easily you could tap out. You could sit on the sidelines. You could wait to get out of there. But he never did that. He gave them everything they had. And we saw the same thing with CJ Stroud in week 2 last season against the Colts, where, it's early on in his career. 2 of his starting tackles are out. His shoulder's hurt. No one would have faulted him. I heard people on the pregame show, shout out to Andre Ware, much love, but he said he wouldn't put CJ out there. And CJ went out there. And I think the decision to do that, I think that's what catapulted this team to getting hot, winning the next 2 games, the game against Jacksonville, the game against Pittsburgh. I think CJ Stroud's showing that Matthew Stafford type of toughness and type of leadership as a youngster. I think that's kind of what catapulted it. So it's one thing to look up to someone, but when you actually look up to them and you possess the intangibles that you respect, that's where you find someone like CJ Stroud that's kind of beyond his years. And I find that really, really interesting. Take it away, CJ.
What's the continuity like? What has it been like since you've had your entire offensive line in the back?
It's been great. Those guys are, working through, coming off of some surgeries and things like that. But, they've bought in, and, we're doubling down. As you can see, the run game is starting to pick up, and Joe is doing a great job with that, and DP, and Dar and all those boys, Cam and all them. But, it starts up front. They're a heartbeat of our team, O-line and D-line. So to have all those guys back has definitely been a huge plus.
You had mentioned 5-headed monster earlier in camp. They've been on the field the last 2 days with Joe's return. Are you getting more excited about what y'all can do to see?
Yeah, man, it's exciting. Very exciting.
CJ, what's it like having a veteran like Robert Woods to be that guy that mentors and also can still play at a high level?
Yeah, he's a great mentor, a great just human, somebody who I've got to spend some time with off the field, in the off season, and just a family man, loves his daughter, loves his wife, but also comes in and puts his head down and works. One of the hardest workers I know, but definitely a great leader. Somebody everybody look up to, and we call him Unc, but he still got some play left.
What's it like balancing
Who knows if that play is going to be here, though? That's the question with Robert Woods. That's going to be interesting. Here's my question to him about, sharing the leadership responsibilities with a couple of alphas that have had C's on their chest before, Stefon Diggs and Joe Mixon.
Your leadership on this team, and you have Diggs and Mixon come in who've been captains. What's it like just making all of that kind of gel to where it's still your squad, but you're taking in what they've learned?
Football. It's not give and take. It's just me being myself, them being them, and coming together as one. That's it's not about me, Joe, Steph, LT, nobody. It's about the team. We have a ton of great leaders, and I'm actually grateful because I don't always have to be the vocal one. I can lead by example, also be vocal, but somebody else to say something to somebody. Like Dalton, Aziz. A lot of guys are stepping up in a lot of different ways. So, I'm not selfish with leadership. I want everybody to be, have a say so, and the more guys, the better.
It is interesting, all the guys that they brought in that have been captains before. Jimmy Ward last year, he's been a captain before. Diggs has been a captain. Mixon's been a captain. I think Shaq Mason's probably been a captain before. Aziz Al-Shair has been a captain before. So all these vets, they can not only play ball, but they've also been leaders of teams, and they've had that C on their chest. I know that sounds a little bit coaching, Bill O'Brien type of thing, but I do think it's interesting when they can actually ball and they have the leadership.
A lot of your teammates, you guys have high expectations for what you guys can do. Obviously, your talent shows throughout training camp, but talking to other guys, it seems like another reason why they have high expectations because of your ability. How good does it feel to know that you have the entire belief of the team behind you?
It's something I don't think I necessarily came in with last year, but it's a new year, and I think I put it on the field last year, but also this camp. I think I've had a decent camp of just getting better and better and better, and learning from my mistakes, not making the same mistake twice, and just making plays. And I feel like those guys are, I feel like NFL, they won't listen to you unless you make plays. So for me, it's just having some, something to show for it, and building that trust also off the field, which I always talk about. But it's very honoring for me to have guys that I grew up watching. I grew up watching Joe. Grew up watching Dog, Steph, LT, and to be the teammates and be able to, have respect for those guys means the world.
CJ, a lot of your teammates have talked about how not everyone could play here. To you, what makes this place unique, and then what does it maybe take to maintain that standard, not let cracks get in the armor?
Well, you was out here today. It's hot, so that's one thing. Adjusting to the weather, and then on top of that, man, just how we practice. We don't practice at least I've only been on this team, but from my other guys been on other teams, we don't practice everybody else. We practice hard, and that's how I love it. That's how I did in college, and that's what I'm used to. I think that's what gives us our edge. And not everybody wants to be that. So for have guys buy into that has been pretty dope. And Coach Nico has been at the front of that. And it's up to me and the rest of the leaders to be right behind them and leading the way as well. I think it's not meant for everybody, but the guys are here. They're meant to be here.
You talked about leadership earlier. How important is it for you to be able to get some work in with those reserve guys, some of those guys who don't get those first team reps, but have you coming in when it's time for them to be on the field?
Yeah, it's amazing because, you never know what can happen. Last year we had guys, get hurt, and it's bound to happen. It's a long season, and, you have to get ready to roll with anybody, And for me, that was a good learning point for me last year, was just learning from Davis and Case's advice of man, you don't know who you're going to be out there that week, but just, be good on your fundamentals, get the ball out early, and, and just have fun. And, that's what I've been doing. So
We've talked a lot about the receivers. Joe Mixon out of the backfield seems like you get more comfortable with him out of the backfield. What type of threat does he pose as a receiver out of the backfield?
He first of all, he's a great guy, somebody who loves ball, and he runs the ball really hard. He has crazy cuts and some things that I haven't seen him, in a long time. It's just he runs the ball very hard, and then you have a guy like DP who comes in behind him and does a lot of special things too. But everybody knows how special he is in every aspect. So he's a great player.
It's going to be interesting. Yesterday they made the play of practice, Mixon and Stroud, and if this offensive line can't run block as many have hoped, you got to wonder if maybe they get a little more creative and throw the ball to Mixon out of the backfield. I think that's something to keep a really, really, really close eye on.
Last one. CJ, can you compare how you felt coming out of training camp last season to how you're feeling now?
I really don't like to look back too much. You know, I remember that I didn't think that I had much confidence after. You know, I knew that I would, you know, have a chance to, you know, start because I don't think I was named a starter yet. But I knew I had a chance to start, and you know, if I did get my opportunity, I was going to make the most of it. So that was like my mindset. Now it's just like, you know, how can we start fast? Like the season start quick in Indy. You know, at Indy. But no, we got to finish this week off, play against the Rams. You know, we got to be where our feet is, and you know, I'm just excited because we did have a great camp.
Thank you,
All right, man.
There you go. That's CJ Stroud here. A lot of confidence. Was I too confident in CJ Stroud when it comes to fantasy? I think fantasy-wise, I think he's going to mash. And that's a combination of the optimism that you have with him and his receiving core, and I have some pessimism about this run game. If you look at the odds right now, the over-under on Joe Mixon total rushing yards is 850. And you might look at that and say, damn, I got to hammer that. Last year they had, I think, Dameon Pierce touchdowns 4.5. And there were a lot of Texans fans saying, I got to jump on that. I got to pounce on that. They for some reason, these guys, they have a pretty good grasp of stuff like this. Now you can take advantage of some opportunities. If you want to bet on CJ Stroud to win MVP, and this might be a little bit rich too, 9-1. Maybe you think that's good odds. 9-1. That is very, very high. It is the third best odds for a MVP winner. So it's not really a long shot. Still get good money. $10 will win you 90. If you want to throw 20, you win 180. So who knows? But I do think he's going to have a lot of statistical production. It's just really a matter of, is CJ Stroud going to win MVP, and are those really that great odds? There's a lot of variables. But I have confidence in him, at least with my fantasy team. What say you? It's always good hearing from CJ Stroud. Training camp has concluded. He will probably not be on the field in the preseason finale. By probably, I mean he definitely won't be. Then we got the Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson, by the way, getting a lot of crap right now. Look, I am not an Anthony Richardson fan. I think the durability issues coming into the league, I think that they didn't get enough attention. The guy hurt himself freaking dancing. Had a concussion, had a knee problem, and then we saw it last year. I thought Bryce Young was getting talked about too much when it came to that area, and Anthony Richardson not enough. But I would not put too much stock in what he did or didn't do in the preseason. I think Shane Steichen will have him ready to go, and I think it's going to be a good matchup between C.J. Stroud and the Texans. Overconfidence in C.J. Stroud. Did I have it? Would you hammer that bet at 9-1? And what do you think about what he had to say about the Texans defense and some other things? Be sure to subscribe, like, ride along. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. The season is quickly approaching. Let's effing eat.
Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localized every time, can't stop.